Hey, what's going on, guys? It's TJ here, and I want to make this quick video for the guys in Team Rugby Muscle to sort of go over the tempo training and why we're doing it and common mistakes that I've seen already from you guys that are going through the training. Here's something that you need to understand. Tempo training is there to work the aerobic system. It's different from most interval training because most interval training, you know, is high intensity interval training. It's HIIT. And you've done that because it's used to try and get your most bang for your buck, where you can work really hard, then recover, and then work really hard again. This is different. This is so that your recovery, or the reason that we're doing intervals is so that your recovery will allow you to stay in the aerobic zone. So that it's really crucial that you don't work too hard when you're doing this tempo work. It's cool though because it allows us to stay in the aerobic system whilst working our skills, movements, which means that we're going to cover both bases. We're going to work the aerobic base. We're also going to work our skills and our movements at the same time and get the benefit of both. And that's one of the most important things that you need to get your head around, is that you're making improvements in both key areas of building your rugby athleticism. For markers, you need to understand that the first rep is going to look the same as the last. That's not because necessarily the whole thing's going to be really easy. It's just that you need to taper that first set, you need to taper that very first rep in order to make sure that you can complete the very last rep looking the same. It's going to feel a little bit it's going to feel a little bit harder for you to do because you're just going to start to tire, especially as we get deep into these tempos. Session one, like your first few sessions are going to feel really easy because you're not used to doing interval training this way. But as we increase the volume, as we increase the amount of work that you're going to do, trust me that these are going to start to get a little bit difficult, but you'll still be able to get through them. You'll still be able to repeat that very last rep. Will look exactly the same as the very last set. Another way to sort of think about it is to make sure that you're working between a 6 or a 7 out of 10. So it's like a 7 out of 10 whilst you're doing the work. It's quality work, but you can definitely go a lot harder if you really needed to. But with tempo training, you don't. And then you probably will drop down to a 6 at the end of your rest or in between rounds. You should probably be able to sort of hold a conversation whilst you're, you should be able to talk whilst you're working, just about, but you should be able to hold a decent enough conversation whilst you're resting and not be too out of breath. That way, or you will be out of breath, but you'll be able to, you're breathing heavy enough, but you can still have a conversation with someone. You're not gassed where you can't talk at all. You're sort of just gassed enough where you've got your breath about you, but you can still have a conversation. That way, you're working the aerobic system. I think a better way, sometimes people can overthink those sort of cues, and a better way is just to make sure that you're, working to a 6 or a 7 out of 10. Extensive tempos are going to be the exact same thing. It's just that we're extending out that work time, which means, obviously your effort level of your work is going to be a little bit lower because you're working for up to 3.5 minutes in this program. So bear that in mind. Bear in mind that you're not, if you're doing the, for instance, if you're doing the medicine ball throws, you're not throwing the ball to the wall as hard as you can. You're not going balls to the wall. See, that kind of works. You're not throwing the balls to the wall as hard as you can every single rep because you're going to be knackered. There's no way you're going to be able to do that and maintain that for an extensive tempo round of like up to 3 minutes. You're better off just making sure that you're getting through the movement, make sure you're moving quality. Same thing for the sprint, same thing for the step, and make sure that you're not, sprinting to each cone or sprinting to each line as fast as you can, but you're moving with perfect mechanics. And that still requires a lot of attention, still requires a lot of effort, and that way we're going to work the aerobic system. You're going to become a better athlete because you're getting your movement better as well. And that essentially is tempo training in a nutshell. Hopefully that explains it. If you have any questions at all about this stuff, let me know, guys, and I'll get back to you. Cheers.